The Galactic Council meeting was in full session when the humans arrived. Commander Sarah Chun stepped into the grand chamber with her team, Young-hoon, the tactical officer, and Min-jun, the diplomat. The alien representatives went silent. Zarkonian, the council's leader, looked at these new beings with curiosity. Humans were small, soft, without claws or natural armor. The Zircon delegation laughed. These creatures wanted to join the mighty Galactic Council. "Welcome, humans," Zarkonian said. "You must prove your worth. Show us your strength." The Zircon warrior, twice the size of Sarah, stepped forward. "I challenge your champion," he growled. Sarah smiled. "Young-hoon, please demonstrate." What happened next shocked everyone. Young-hoon didn't use brute force. He studied the Zircon's movement, waited for the right moment, then used the alien's own weight against him. The massive warrior crashed to the floor in seconds, but the council wasn't impressed. "Luck," they said. "Humans are prey species. Look at them. No fangs, weak bodies, slow runners." Ambassador Zex from the Vorthan Empire spoke up. "We have studied Earth. These humans barely survived their own predators. They hid in caves from simple beasts. How can they protect council territories?" Min-jun stepped forward calmly. "You judge us by appearance. That is your first mistake." Co-Yun, the team's historian, activated a hologram. "Let me tell you about humans." The hologram showed early humans hunting mammoths. Small, weak humans taking down creatures 10 times their size. Not with strength, but with planning, tools, and persistence. "We didn't survive despite being weak," Co-Yun explained. "We survived because we adapted. We made weapons. We worked together. We thought ahead." The council members shifted uncomfortably. ZAR single quotes KONI and raised a tentacle. "Still, you are just one small planet. The galaxy is vast and dangerous." Sarah's expression hardened. "You want to see danger? Let me tell you what humans really are." She pulled up Earth's history. Wars, conflicts, humans fighting in impossible conditions. Surviving in deserts, Arctic wastelands, even space. Adapting to anything. "We fought each other for thousands of years," Sarah said. "We created weapons that could destroy our entire planet. We survived diseases that killed millions. We went to space in metal cans, held together with math and hope." The Zircon warrior, now standing again, scoffed. "Stories. Any species can claim greatness." Young-hoon spoke quietly. "Your mistake is thinking we're prey. On Earth, humans are the apex predator. We hunted every other predator to extinction or submission. Bears, wolves, lions, they all learned to fear us. But the interesting part," Min-jun added, "is how we did it. Not with bigger teeth or sharper claws. With our minds. We're persistence hunters. We don't stop, ever." Co-Yun showed another image. "This is our history with other predators. We didn't run from them. We studied them. We learned their patterns. We took their territories. We made them pets." The council chamber was very quiet now. "You think we're weak because we're not big," Sarah continued. "But we survived ice ages. We survived supervolcanoes. We survived each other. And now we're here, asking to join your council." Zex's many eyes blinked rapidly. You're saying humans are the most dangerous species you'll ever meet," Sarah finished. "Because we look harmless. Because we think before we act. Because when we decide something needs to be done, we don't stop until it's finished." The hologram changed one more time. It showed human spaceships. Not many, but each one efficient, deadly, practical. "We don't conquer through force," Min-jun said. "We adapt. We learn. We integrate. And then, before you realize it, we're everywhere. Essential. irreplaceable. Zarkonian's color changed, a sign of deep thought. Perhaps we should discuss this further. Sarah smiled. It wasn't a warm smile. Of course. We're very patient. We can wait as long as needed. After all, persistence is what we do best. As the humans left the chamber for a break, the alien representatives looked at each other with new understanding. These soft, small creatures might be the most dangerous thing they'd ever encountered. They just didn't know it yet. 3 days after the first meeting, the Council decided to test humans properly. They sent them to Kepler 442, a hostile planet where even the Zircon military had failed. Retrieve the data core from the abandoned station, Zarkonian instructed. The local predators killed our last 3 teams. Sarah's team landed on the dark planet. The air was thick, poisonous to most species. Humans needed only simple filters. Jung-hoon checked his equipment while Seo Yan analyzed the environment. Min-jun studied the mission reports. The creatures here hunt in packs, Min-jun said. They're called shadow maws. Invisible in darkness, faster than most species can track. The Galactic Council watched through satellites. Zex whispered to others, they will run back to their ship in minutes. But humans didn't run. Sarah split the team. Jung-hoon set traps along our path. Seo Yeon mapped their hunting patterns. Min-jun, you're with me. The aliens watched in confusion. The humans were walking slowly into danger. Why aren't they hurrying? Avorthan asked. Then the shadow walls attacked. Black shapes burst from darkness, teeth gleaming. The council members gasped. But Sarah's team didn't panic. They moved in formation, back to back, weapons ready. Jung-hoon's traps activated. Nets caught 2 creatures. The others circled, confused. These prey weren't running. They weren't screaming. They were studying. Pattern identified, Seo Yeon announced. They attacked from left, then right, then above. Sarah nodded. Jung-hoon high position. Min-jun bait. Min-jun stepped forward alone. The shadow maws saw easy prey and charged. At the last second, Min-jun dropped. Jung-hoon's stun weapons fired from above. 3 creatures fell. The remaining shadow maws retreated, confused. Prey didn't act like this. Now we follow them, Sarah said calmly. Follow? Zarkonian couldn't believe it. They're following the predators? For 6 hours, the humans tracked the shadow maws. Not rushing. Not stopping. Just walking, following. The creatures tried to lose them. But humans kept coming. Slowly, steadily, relentlessly. The shadow maws were getting tired, scared. These strange beings wouldn't stop following them. Finally, the creatures abandoned their territory, fleeing to distant mountains. Sarah's team walked into the abandoned station and retrieved the data core. Mission complete. No casualties. Back at the council, representatives were silent. The Zircon warrior, Commander Thax, spoke first. They made the apex predators run. By walking, Zex's tentacles trembled. How? On the screen, Sarah was explaining to her team. They didn't know the council was listening. Persistence hunting, she said. Ancient human technique. We can't run fast, but we can run forever. We sweat to cool down. Other animals overheat. We just keep following until they collapse from exhaustion. Jung-hoon added, fear is a tool. Once predators learn humans don't stop coming, they run. It's psychological warfare. The council members looked at each other. These humans had turned the galaxy's feared predators into prey. Not through strength, through patience and fear. Zarkonian called an emergency meeting. We need to reconsider. These humans are not what they appear. A new figure entered the council chamber. Admiral Curzon of the warrior caste, the galaxy's military leader. I've been watching the footage. These humans use tactics I've never seen. He displayed the recording. Look closer. They communicated without speaking. Hand signals. They predicted the creature's behavior. They controlled the entire situation. But they're so weak-looking, protested a smaller alien. Curzon made a harsh sound. That's their advantage. Everyone underestimates them. By the time you realize the danger, it's too late. He showed more data. I researched their home planet. Humans are the only sapient species there. Every other intelligent competitor? Gone. They won their entire planet. The council grew quiet. There's more, Curzon continued. They sent only 4 members for this mission. 4. They have billions more. What happens if they all come? Zex spoke carefully. Perhaps we should accept them into the council. Keep them as allies rather than enemies, Zarkonian finished. Yes, better to have them with us. But in her quarters, Sarah was reporting to Earth. Phase 1 complete. They're beginning to understand. Continue to Phase 2? The response came quickly. Proceed. Show them why humanity survived. Sarah smiled. The council thought they were testing humans. They didn't realize humans were testing them. Seeing who was worth allying with. Who was a threat. The hunt had indeed begun. But not the one the aliens expected. Asterisk. Two weeks later, Admiral Curzon proposed something unprecedented. If humans join the council, they'll need to prove military capability. I suggest war games. Humans versus our best forces. The council agreed. Surely trained military forces could defeat 4 humans. Sarah received the challenge with interest. War games? Non-lethal combat? Yes, Curzon confirmed. You may bring 10 more humans. We'll use 500 of our finest warriors. Sarah's smile made several aliens step back. We only need the 10. The games would take place on Nexus Station, a massive military training facility. The rules were simple. Capture the enemy command center or eliminate all opponents. Weapons would stun, not kill. Earth sent the reinforcements. When they arrived, the aliens were confused. 3 were elderly generals from Earth's various wars. 2 were young, barely adults. The rest looked like civilians. A doctor, an engineer, a teacher, a farmer, and surprisingly, a chef. Commander Thax laughed. They send elders and children? Cooks and farmers? Against our warriors? Min Jun overheard. You'll see. The games began at dawn. The alien force moved in perfect formation, 500 warriors advancing on the human position. They expected to win within an hour. They were wrong. The first trap was psychological. The young humans, Ji Wu and Hana, appeared to flee in panic. 50 warriors chased them into a corridor. The door sealed behind them. Gas flooded the space, harmless but disorienting. The warriors stumbled out, stunned by sonic weapons. 50 down in 3 minutes. The chef, Marcus, had poisoned the station's water supply. Not lethal poison, just something that made non-humans very sleepy. Another 100 warriors fell within an hour. Confused why they felt so tired, General Chun, Sarah's grandmother, coordinated from the command center. Remember, she told her team, we're not fighting their war. We're fighting ours. The farmer, Eric, had spent the night planting devices throughout the station. Not bombs, just speakers. They played sounds. Predator calls from various planets. Alien warriors found themselves jumping at shadows. Panicking at noises their instincts said meant danger. Dr. Patel, the doctor, used her medical scanner to identify each species' weakness. Vorthans hated specific light frequencies. Zircons couldn't handle certain smells. Soon, warriors were fleeing from harmless but unbearable sensory attacks. The engineer, Yuki, had reconfigured the station's systems. Doors opened and closed randomly. Gravity shifted in certain sectors. Lights flickered in patterns that disrupted alien vision, but not human sight. The three elderly generals, Chun, Williams, and Kumar, sat in the command center, playing what looked like chess. They were actually coordinating the entire human strategy, predicting every alien move based on decades of war experience. "They'll try flanking through Sector 7, General Williams said. "Moving apiece." "Jung-hoon, Sector 7, please," Sarah relayed. Jung-hoon was waiting with the teacher, Ms. Rodriguez. She'd studied alien psychology and knew exactly what frightened each species. As warriors entered, she projected their specific fears as holograms. Warriors fled from illusions of their natural predators. By noon, 300 alien warriors were eliminated. The remaining 200 grouped together for protection. "Now they're scared," General Kumar observed. "Time for persistence." The humans began the hunt, not attacking directly, just always being there. Every corner the aliens turned, a human was watching, waiting, smiling. The aliens would fire. The humans would dodge, disappear, then reappear somewhere else. The psychological pressure was immense. Warriors who'd fought actual wars were breaking down. These humans weren't fighting normally. They were in the walls, in the systems, in their heads. Curzon watched from the observation deck. "They're not soldiers. There's something else." Zarkonian watched the elderly generals. "Those three haven't even stood up. They're winning a war while sitting." "Because," Zex said quietly, "they're not fighting with their bodies. They're fighting with their minds." The final phase began when the aliens tried to rush the human command center. All remaining warriors charged at once. Sarah's team was ready. They'd led the aliens exactly where they wanted them. The corridor was narrow. The warriors bunched together. The chef, Marcus, released his final surprise. Not weapons. Food smell. Specifically, the scent of Earth predators marking territory. Every alien's instinct screamed danger. In their confusion, they didn't notice the humans sealing exits. Pump systems activated. Sleep gas flooded the corridor. The last 200 warriors fell without the humans firing a single shot. Total time, 6 hours. Human casualties, 0. Alien casualties, 500. The council watched in stunned silence. 14 humans had defeated their best military force. And they'd done it while looking like they were playing a game. Asterisk, the war games ended. But the council couldn't stop analyzing what happened. They gathered in emergency session, reviewing every moment of footage. "They used our instincts against us," Commander Thack said, still shaken. "They knew how we'd react before we did." Zex pulled up human history files. "I've been researching. Humans have a saying, 'Know your enemy.' They studied us for weeks. We never studied them." Admiral Curzon stood before the council. "I must share something disturbing. After the games, I spoke with General Chun. She said this was restrained combat. They were being gentle? Gentle?" Zarkonian's color shifted to disbelief. "They destroyed our finest warriors. Without killing anyone," Curzon pointed out. "She said in real human wars, they use something called total war. Everything becomes a weapon. Weather, disease, starvation, fear. They destroy not just armies, but entire civilizations' will to fight." Seo Yan had been invited to explain human history. She stood before the council, small among the massive aliens. "You want to understand humans?" She began. "Let me tell you about World War II. Millions of humans died. We created weapons that burned entire cities. We fought in frozen wastelands and burning deserts. We sacrificed ourselves to save others. The hologram showed human soldiers in various wars. We don't just fight to win. We fight to completely eliminate threats. When humans go to war, we don't stop until the enemy can never threaten us again. A new delegate, Ambassador Rix, challenged her. But you're social creatures. You value life. Yes, CO Yan agreed. That's what makes us dangerous. We'll do terrible things to protect what we love. A human parent protecting their child becomes more dangerous than any predator. She showed another image. This is Stalingrad. Humans fought for months in a destroyed city, eating rats, freezing, dying, but not surrendering, because surrender meant their families would suffer. The council shifted uncomfortably. Jung-hoon added, "You judge species by physical strength or technology. But humans survived through adaptation. Too cold? We made fire. Too weak? We made tools. Too slow? We built vehicles. Every challenge made us stronger." Min Jun stood up. "But here's what you really need to understand. Humans don't want war. We've seen what we can do. It terrifies us. That's why we're here, asking to join peacefully." Sarah finally spoke. Earth has a history of apex predators. Dinosaurs ruled for millions of years. Then an asteroid ended them. But what survived? Small, weak mammals. Us. We survived because we adapted. She looked at each council member. Now we're in space, and we're still adapting. The question is, do you want us adapting with you or around you? Sarkonian called for a private council session. The humans waited outside. Inside, the debate was fierce. They're too dangerous, some argued. They're exactly what we need, others countered. The swarm is coming. These humans might be our only hope. The swarm, a collection of hive-mind species consuming everything in their path. The council's greatest fear. Curzon spoke decisively. "I've fought the swarm, lost every battle. But these humans, they think differently. They might find a way, or they'll replace us," Rix worried. "Did you notice?" Zex said quietly. "They never threatened us. They just showed us what they are. They're letting us choose." That's power, Sarkonian realized. When you're truly dangerous, you don't need to make threats. The council voted. It wasn't unanimous, but the majority agreed. When the humans were called back, Sarkonian stood formally. "The Galactic Council accepts Earth's membership. But we have conditions." Sarah nodded. "We're listening. You'll share your military strategies. Help defend against the swarm. And promise to never turn against the council." Sarah looked at her team. They nodded. "We accept," she said. "But we have one condition too." The council tensed. "Treat us as equals. Not as weapons. Not as monsters. As partners." Sarkonian extended a tentacle. Sarah shook it. "Welcome to the Galactic Council, humans." As they left, Rix whispered to Zex, "Are we welcoming allies or inviting our own conquest?" Zex watched the humans go. "Maybe both. But better they're with us when the real threats come." In her report to Earth, Sarah wrote, "Phase 3 complete. They accept us, but fear us. Perfect balance achieved. Preparing for the swarm encounter. Humanity's real test begins soon." 6 months after humanity joined the Council, the swarm arrived at the galaxy's edge. Billions of creatures, thinking as one mind, consuming entire solar systems. The Council's war room was chaos. Every strategy had failed before. The swarm adapted to everything, learned from every encounter, never made the same mistake twice. "We've lost 3 systems already," Admiral Curzon reported. "Our fleets can't stop them." Sarah stood up. "May we propose something?" The council turned to the humans. Earth had sent their best strategists, including someone new, Colonel David Park, a man who'd studied insects his entire life. "The swarm is like Earth's ants," David explained. collective intelligence. But that's also their weakness. Weakness? Sarkonian leaned forward. They have no weakness. They're perfect unity. David smiled. On Earth, we've dealt with hive minds for millennia. Ants, bees, termites. Want to know how humans defeat them? He pulled up a display. You don't fight the swarm. You confuse it. Corrupt its communication. Make it fight itself. General Chun took over. Human warfare rule number 1. Never fight on the enemy's terms. The swarm expects direct confrontation. So we don't give them that. The plan was unlike anything the Council had seen. No massive fleets. No giant weapons. Instead, small human teams would infiltrate swarm territory with specific missions. That's suicide, Commander Fax protested. That's human, Jung-hoon corrected. We call them special operations. The first team deployed within days. Led by Min-jun, they flew a small ship directly into swarm space. The aliens watched in horror as the tiny vessel disappeared among billions of enemies. But Min-jun's team wasn't fighting. They were releasing something, a virus, but not biological. Information. Fake pheromone signals that confused swarm communication. Suddenly, portions of the swarm began attacking each other, unable to recognize friend from foe. The second team, led by Dr. Patel, introduced a different weapon, music. Specific frequencies that disrupted the swarm's hive-mind connection. For the first time, individual swarm creatures acted independently, causing chaos. Sarah's team took the boldest approach. They landed on a conquered planet, right in the middle of swarm territory. But instead of fighting, they started building. Structures that looked like swarm hives, but transmitted false signals. They're mimicking the swarm? Rix couldn't believe it. Humans are natural mimics, Co. Yan explained from the war room. We learned to copy predator sounds to avoid them. Now we're copying the swarm to confuse them. The swarm's response was predictable. They sent forces to investigate these false hives. But the humans had planted traps. Not explosives, something worse. Each fake hive released chemicals that marked swarm soldiers as enemies to their own kind. Within weeks, the swarm was in chaos. They'd never encountered an enemy that didn't fight directly. Humans were everywhere and nowhere, corruption spreading through their perfect unity. Curl Park coordinated from the council station. Phase 2 now. This time, humanity showed its darker side. They introduced diseases designed specifically for the swarm, not to kill them, to make them sleep at random times. The hive mind couldn't function when random members kept falling unconscious. Marcus, the chef from the war games, had created something horrific, food that swarm creatures couldn't resist, but that changed their chemical signatures. They became unrecognizable to their own kind, treated as invaders. The teacher, Ms. Rodriguez, used psychological warfare. She broadcast stories throughout swarm space. Stories of individuality, of freedom, of choice. Most swarm creatures couldn't understand, but a few began to question. In a hive mind, doubt spreads like wildfire. The swarm tried to adapt, but humans kept changing tactics. Every time the swarm learned one trick, humans used something completely different. Chemical warfare became information warfare, became biological warfare, became psychological warfare. After 3 months, the impossible happened. The swarm retreated. For the first time in galactic history, they pulled back, confused and damaged. The council watched in awe as the humans reported success. How? Zarkonian asked. How did you defeat perfect unity? Sarah answered simply, because humans are chaos. We're individuals who choose to work together. The swarm is one mind with many bodies. We're many minds that can become one purpose. We're unpredictable because even we don't know what we'll do next. General Chun added the final truth. And because humans have been defeating hive minds since we discovered fire. Ants, termites, bees, they all work like the swarm. We've had millions of years of practice. The council finally understood. Humans weren't just apex predators. They were apex survivors, apex adapters, apex strategists. They were chaos incarnate, and that made them unstoppable. Epilogue: years later, the galaxy was at peace. The swarm never returned, too damaged and confused to reorganize. Other threats arose but were quickly handled by human strategists working with council forces. But in quiet moments, the aliens remembered the lesson. Humans looked weak, soft, harmless. That was their greatest weapon, because by the time you realized humans were dangerous, it was already too late. They were already everywhere. Asterisk.